Hello children, I am back with the new chapter. But before starting the new chapter, let's check previous homework. Whether you have written all the answers correctly or not. Question number 1. How many planets are there in our solar system? Name those planets. There are 8 planets in our solar system. The 8 planets of our solar system are Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus and Neptune. What is orbit? A fixed path on which a planet moves around the sun called orbit. Question number 3. Which planet is called a dwarf planet? Answer is Pluto is called a dwarf planet. Question number 4. What is axis? Answer is an imaginary line on which the earth rotates. Now let's recall once again what we have learned in the previous chapter. The earth has air to breathe and water for the living thing to use. A layer of air surrounding the earth is called atmosphere. The sun, its 8 planets and all the objects moving around them make up the solar system. The earth is round in shape. The earth shows 2 types of movements, rotation and revolution. Rotation causes day and night, while revolution causes seasons. Children, you must have seen the sky at night. The night sky is full of stars. We do not see the sun in the sky at night. The moon shines during night. The sun, the moon, the stars. What are these? These are heavenly bodies. So children, in this chapter we are going to learn about heavenly bodies. Chapter 13, Heavenly Bodies in Outer Space. The sun, the moon, the stars and planets are heavenly bodies. And children, what is space? Let's go into the space. The space is the continuous free area beyond the atmosphere of the earth. When we see upwards in the sky, we are seeing the part of the earth's atmosphere. So what is atmosphere? A thick layer around the earth is called atmosphere. Outer space begins about 8 kilometers above the earth's surface. Children, what do we see in a space? Space appears as a blanket dotted with the sun, moon, planets and twinkling stars, as you can see in this picture. The sun. The sun is a huge ball of fire. The moon. We see moon at night. The planets. A planet is a round object that moves around the sun in a fixed path. The stars. We see twinkling stars at night. So space appears a black blanket dotted with the sun, moon, planets and twinkling stars. Children, can we hear in space? No, we cannot hear in space. There is no air in space. It is a vacuum. No one can hear your scream in space because sound cannot travel through vacuum. What is vacuum? A space that is completely empty of all substances including air or other gases. So space is a vacuum. There is no air. Many people have gone into space. What are those people called? Who go to space? The people who fly into space are called astronauts. As you can see in this picture, astronauts use a special aircraft to go into space. What is it called? They use a special aircraft called Spaceship. So what is a spaceship? A spaceship is a vehicle that travels in space, carrying people. So now let's see who was the first man to fly into space. So the answer is Yuri Gagarin was the first man to fly into space in 1961. And do you know he was from which country? He was from Russia. Now, who was the first Indian to go into space? Let's see. Raksh Sharma. Raksh Sharma was the first Indian to go into space. And in which year he went into space? He went to space in 1984. So now let's see some more Indian origin astronauts who went in space. So now children, what is the meaning of Indian origin? Indian origin means individual who are Indians at birth and who live outside of the Republic of India. So now let's see Indian origin astronauts. Kamala Chawla. She was an American astronaut of Indian origin. And you know children, how many times she went to space? She went to space twice. Once in the year 1997 and then in 2003. Now let's see next Indian origin astronaut. And she is Sunita Williams. Sunita Williams is also an American astronaut of Indian origin. And she first flew to space in 2006 and then 2012. And you know children, she has spent 322 days in space during these two missions. So now let's move on to the next topic, and that is heavenly bodies. So, do you remember children? In the previous lesson, we have studied about solar system. This is our solar system. And the earth. So the earth and the other seven planets are the members of the solar system. and there are many other heavenly bodies which are found in space. So now let's study about some of them. So the first heavenly body is the sun. This is the sun. In the previous chapter, I have told you that the sun is a star. Do you remember? Yes, I know you all have remembered that the sun is a star and it is a huge ball of burning gases. It is the nearest star to the earth. The sun lies at the center of the solar system. And do you know, children? We get heat and light from the sun. And the sun controls our weather and seasons. And the sun is bigger than the earth. Without the sun, there would be no life on the earth. And we have already studied that the sun and the 8 planets together form the solar system. So children, here in this picture you can see how light from the sun reaches the earth and takes 8 minutes. So now you understood how much far is the earth from the sun? Two main gases present on the sun are hydrogen and helium. So children, can you tell me how is the sun important to us? The sun gives us light. The sun gives us warmth. The sun is an important part of water cycle. And what is water cycle? The cycle involving the changes of water into water vapor and then to water again is called water cycle. Green plants prepare food in the presence of sunlight. And we have already studied plants prepare their food by the process of photosynthesis. And we know, children, sunlight is very important for photosynthesis. So children, once again, how is the sun important to us? The sun gives us light. The sun gives us warmth. The sun is an important part of water cycle. Green plants prepare food in the presence of sunlight. So now let's move on to the next topic, and that is the moon. The moon is the only natural satellite of the earth. What is satellite? A satellite is a small object that orbits or revolves around a large object in space. Satellites can be natural or artificial. Here, what is the meaning of artificial? Artificial means made by man. Artificial satellites are sent into space to gather information. The moon is our closest neighbor in the sky. Just as the earth moves around the sun, the moon moves around the earth. The moon is also called the earth satellite. But moon is not made by man. The moon is natural satellite. It is smaller than the earth, but it looks bigger to us because it is very close to us. Objects weigh less on the moon than on the earth. Because of this, the astronauts who went to the moon could enjoy bouncing around moon surface. Let's see. The moon revolves around the earth, like all the planets revolve around the sun. And do you know, children, in how many days takes the moon to complete one rotation? The moon takes 29 days to complete one rotation. And there is no water on the moon. However, scientists of ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, the moon has craters, mountains and rocks. What is craters? Craters are round, cup-shaped hollows. And the moon does not have its own light, but it looks bright. Why? Because it reflects the light of the sun. What is reflect? Reflect means send back light from the sun. The sun's light fall on the moon. Looks bright to us. Now let's study about the atmosphere of the moon. So the moon has no atmosphere. Hence it becomes very hot when the sun's rays fall on it. And when the sun's rays not fall on it, the moon becomes very cold. So that's why there is a lot of differences between day and night temperature. So now what we have studied, that since there is no atmosphere on the moon and there is no wind, no weather, no rain or clouds on the moon. Children, can you tell me who was the first man to land on the moon? The first man to land on the moon on 20th July 1969 was an American named Neil Armstrong. So now let's study about our next topic, the stars. So tell me, have you been to your roof or terrace? When you look up at the sky at night, you will see many stars twinkling in the sky. On a clear night, a star is a brilliantly glowing ball of hot gases. And you have seen that some stars look big and some look small. The stars have light of their own, like sun. The sun is a star. We get heat and light from the sun. And children, do you know? The star glow during the daytime also. But we cannot see them because the sun shines very brightly. The stars cannot be seen because of the glare of the sunlight. So once again, what is the star? A star is a brilliantly glowing ball of hot gases. To look at the moon, the stars in the night sky, we use an instrument called telescope. A telescope helps us to see far off objects such as the stars, the moon and the planets clearly. Now let's move on to the next topic, and that is constellations. What are constellations? Patterns formed by a group of stars in the sky called constellations. Children, you must have seen Rangoli, and many children may have also made. What do we do first to make Rangoli? We put a lot of dots and then we connect the dots to each other to make different patterns. The stars in the sky look like a lot of dots to us. When we connect some of them together, we see different patterns, as you can see in this picture. Astronomers are people who study the objects in sky. Scientists have given a special name to each such group of stars. Children, if you look up at the night sky, you will see that some groups of stars appear to make patterns in the sky. The constellations are named after creatures and persons from myth and legends. What is myth? Myth means an idea or a story which many people believe but that does not exist or is false. And what is the meaning of legends? Legends means an old story that may or may not be true. Some of the constellations are Ursa Minor. Ursa Minor, its name means small bear. It is located near Ursa Major. Next is Ursa Major. Ursa Major. Ursa Major is a constellation or group of stars that appears in the northern night sky. Its name means Great Bear. Next is Orion. Orion is the one of the most visible constellation because its location. It can be seen throughout the world. Orion means the hunter. Next is Leo. Leo. The constellation Leo is usually drawn as a lion. Leo can be seen in the spring in the northern hemisphere. Next is Canis Major, which means big dog. So here your chapter is ended. Here you can see some important words and their meanings are given. First word is space, the region beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Astronaut, a person who goes into space. Crater, a big cup-like hollow. Satellite, a body that revolves around a planet. Constellation, a pattern formed by a group of stars. ISRO or ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization. Let's recall once again what we have learned in this chapter. The sun, the moon, planets and stars found in space. Space travelers are called astronauts. The sun is the nearest star to the earth. The moon is the only natural satellite of the earth. The moon revolves around the earth. A star is a brilliantly glowing ball of hot gases. Groups of stars from patterns called constellations. So thank you children. Stay safe and study well.